talk about Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. The last time that I talked about LA, this was before Rashawn Slater went down with the season-ending injury in training camp, before Najee Harris was dealing with the eye incident. We'll get into the negatives and to the positives with the Chargers and why I still have them being a massive threat in the AFC despite the major injuries. But let's start with the biggest elephant in the room, the Rashawn Slater injury. This sucks to say the least. Early on, when he went down with this leg injury, it was a lot of reports that came out that it was potentially a meniscus injury, but that was not the case. It's a torn patella tendon, and no one saw this happening. I'm happy that he did get his money. They paid him to be the highest paid tackle in the NFL, and rightfully so. Rashawn Slater is the second best player on this roster when he's fully healthy, right next to Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's obviously the best in my opinion, then it's Rashawn Slater. You go back and you look at last year, Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, they're one of the top tackle duos in football. And you have a coaching system. And the identity of this team last year was based off the run game. Yes, you have a premier quarterback in Justin Herbert, but we know what Jim Harbaugh loves to do. We saw this with the San Francisco 49ers many decades ago with Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith. They ran the football at a high clip with Frank Gore. He goes over to Michigan, does the same thing, runs the football at a high clip. And he had a great quarterback at that point in time in Michigan with J.J. McCarthy. But they won the national championship because of the run game, their defense, their offensive line, and the simple fact that J.J. McCarthy was a very good quarterback at the college level. With Rashawn Slater going down, it puts a lot of stress now on Greg Roman. He's not the most creative offensive mind. He's not going to go out there and come up with clever plays like a Sean McVay and a Kyle Shanahan. And it's not me saying that he's a terrible offensive coordinator. He helped Lamar Jackson become an MVP in this league. He went to the Super Bowl calling plays with the San Francisco 49ers. The offensive mind is there, but it's a bunch of generic pass plays. He's known to go out there and be physical up front and come up with these rushing plays with some of these running backs. With Rashawn Slater being out, you now take Joe off from being that right tackle to now he's that starting left tackle because you want to protect the blind spot as much as possible with Justin Herbert. And now Trey Pipkins, who is known to be a guard in the NFL, has played some tackle in the past. At the college level, he's going to be your starting right tackle for this season. Your offense may take a step back in terms of running the football towards the right side and also giving Justin Herbert more time inside the pocket. The dream scenario here was to have Mekhi Becton, right guard, Joe Alt, tackle position, and the same with Rashawn Slater. That's a very good offensive line with three very good starters. We have to also look at it from the standpoint. Justin Herbert has never had good offensive line protection in the interior, ever. His best offensive line protection, you can make the case, was last season. And his first year with Coach Harbaugh and with Greg Roman being the OC. Since 2020, he's been sacked 171 times. That's the fourth most in the NFL. He has the third highest pressure rate within this time period. That's why he's always dealing with injuries to his foot, to his ribs, a hand injury. And he plays through some of those injuries. The only time that he missed an extended amount of time was a few years ago. And that last year with Brandon Staley to where he fractured his thumb on his non-throwing hand. You still have to protect your investment here. I'm not worried about Mekhi Becton, who is a phenomenal guard coming over from the Philadelphia Eagles. He's played tackle in the past with the New York Jets. You may ask the question, well, why don't you want to play tackle here? That's not his best position. The athleticism did not translate over at tackle like how it does at the guard position. He's a way better guard than he is tackle. Trey Pipkins, will he be a good starting tackle long-term for the Chargers? I can't answer that right now. I haven't seen him play an entire season at the tackle position before. He's usually a guard for the Chargers. But that's asking a lot out of him. But Justin Herbert, he can help him out, get the football out quicker, and be more dominant and run the football towards the left side with Joe Alt. It is going to be a huge, huge transition for all of these players up front. And I hate that Rashawn Slater went down. And I hope that when he does come back, he can still be that premier tackle because he definitely deserved his money before then. And it also really hurts the draft class because you didn't draft a tackle. If you would have drafted the tackle, you go out there, you start him day one, he transitions into that role. But that's not the case. The offensive line may have some issues, but give it some time. I trust Coach Harbaugh and I trust Greg Roman to figure this thing out, and the same with Justin Herbert. But it is a big blow to have on your offensive line, to say the least. And I look at them week one. They face Kansas City. That's going to be a tough battle. But within the last 3 years, they've just been a couple plays away from beating Kansas City. We'll see what happens. And the clear identity of this team is to run the football as much as possible. That's why you drafted Marion Hampton in the first round. That's why you picked up Najee Harris in free agency. You're going to run into some problems here. When you go against teams like the Houston Texans and the same with Kansas City and even the Philadelphia Eagles, because they can feast on your offensive line and they can come up with ways to generate pressure up the middle of your offensive line. If you can get away from that, you can find ways to negate that pressure and just give Justin Herbert more time inside the pocket. I think that you will be okay. Now, part of the reason why I still think the Chargers will be a force to be reckoned with in the AFC, even though they're missing their second best player this year, you still have Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's still one of the best players in football. He's one of the best quarterbacks. 23 passing touchdowns last year, 3 interceptions. And the wide receiving core wasn't the best. Outside of Ladd McConkey, you had a lot of inconsistent play. Quentin Johnson, he's getting there. But he still wasn't worth of that first round pick. I wish that they would have went with Zay Flowers, but it is what it is. We've seen Justin Herbert go out there and have 35 passing touchdowns to 13 interceptions, over 4,500 passing yards. They weren't able to win many football games. So the direction that the Chargers are going into with a more balanced offense, that should help you out. And when you can't run the football in certain situations, you give it off to Justin Herbert and you say, just help us out this one time. We'll figure it out next week. And Justin Herbert has been able to do that in the past. He was able to do that last season. The Denver Broncos game, Thursday Night Football. The run game wasn't the best for the Chargers. They got a couple splash plays here and there, but Justin Herbert's finding ways, sidearm throws, getting outside the pocket, breaking sacks, is because he is that talent. The playoff record is not there. He's 0-2 in the playoffs. That's not all on Justin Herbert. He needs to be better in the playoffs, sure. But in the regular season, when it comes down to a crucial play, you can go to Justin Herbert, and he's done it year in and year out. So as long as he's fully healthy, you're going to always have a shot in the AFC. And I'm not saying be a Super Bowl contender. I'm just saying win those games in the regular season when it matters. Now, in the postseason, I will give him an excuse against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Even though they should have still won that matchup, it was terrible coaching with Brandon Staley, and they couldn't run the football. That was still a bad moment for Justin Herbert. When against the Jaguars, you lost that matchup, and you were up big time. But when they went against the Houston Texans, he threw 4 interceptions, only threw 3 in the regular season. One of those interceptions were not his fault. It bounced off the hands of Will Dissly, and it went for an interception. He still needs to be better against those top-end defenses in the postseason. And I can make all the excuses to why he had a terrible matchup against Houston in the playoffs. The offensive line, once again, was abysmal in the interior. They could not run the football at the next level. You only had one consistent threat, and that was Ladd McConkey. No one else could get open. So you're asking for Justin Herbert to go out there against one of the best defenses in football and figure it out. And they were one-dimensional. You can't run to that problem this year. Now, this is where we go over to the running backs. Marion Hampton is a phenomenal talent. He should be the bell cow for the Chargers sooner than later. Coming over from North Carolina, 1,660 rushing yards this last year, 281 carries, averaged 6 yards a carry, 15 rushing touchdowns. He was phenomenal. If it wasn't for Ashton Jeanty, he would have been the first running back taken in the first round. He's a great talent. Then when you bring in Najee Harris from the Steelers, what is Najee Harris known for? Being that bell cow. Every single year with the Steelers, he's had over 1,000 rushing yards. And he's been put into some bad situations with the Steelers. You're not just going to go out there and stack the box against Justin Herbert. You'll be crazy to do so. Najee Harris has played with quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. Not terrible. But Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, you have Matt Canada calling plays? I still have PTSD from watching him call plays with the Steelers. That was a terrible system. And yet he still put up over 1,000 rushing yards. Now, the 1,000 rushing yards aren't the same as they were before they extended games into the season. You go back a few years ago, 1,000 yards, that was phenomenal. Now it's routine. But he's able to be that bell cow. You can give him the football 15 to 20 times in the game. He's not going to lose much juice. He's just a very good physical power back. You can make the case that he's one of the best power backs in ball right now. And he averaged 4 yards a carry. He may not be ready to go out there and handle 20, 25 carries early on anyway, but that's why you have Marion Hampton. That's why you drafted him in the first round. He's going to be that star running back in this room. You spent draft capital on him. You didn't spend draft capital on Najee Harris. It's just a 1-year deal. And part of the reason why I'm saying that he's not going to be ready for that full workload early on, the man suffered an eye injury. 4th of July, just a freak accident. It's an artificial eye injury. He's missed a lot of time in training camp. He's still on the sideline right now working out with the running backs coaches. The conditioning may not be there. We look at these athletes and we'll say, well, he's running on the treadmill. He's running around the track. That is different from playing in-game action every single week. This is why they have OTAs. This is why they have training camp. So the win may not be there, but Marion Hampton has gotten carries in the preseason. He's got a majority of the first team reps right now because Najee Harris has been out. He's going to be conditioned. And when they're both fully healthy, this is going to be a very talented running back room. And it's better than that running back room that you had last year with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, even though they had a good stat line running the football. Stats don't tell the full story. Their run game was still wildly inconsistent. Some games, they will just only average 3.2 yards a carry. The next game maybe is 5.6, but J.K. Dobbins will have a run that went for 30 to 40 yards. You take that run away, he's averaging 2.5 yards a carry for that game. And those huge splash plays, that's great to have, but it's not going to happen every single play. It's not going to happen every single week. This is the NFL. This isn't the college level. So Marion Hampton may have a run that goes for 40 to 50 yards. That's phenomenal. But can you consistently get 3 to 4 yards at a time? The best case scenario for Greg Roman and things that he's done in the past with the Baltimore Ravens, can he get 5 to 6 rushing yards at a time? I mean, when he was in his prime of his career calling plays with the Baltimore Ravens, they could run the football at a high clip. He helped Lamar Jackson become an MVP. He was on that coaching staff calling offensive plays with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick with the San Francisco 49ers, and they ran the football at a high clip just like that. That's what you're looking for with LA. And it may not happen this year because of the injury with Rashawn Slater, but you're still laying down those foundational pieces for in the future. So right now, the biggest concern with the Chargers went from being the wide receiving room to now their offensive line protection on the right side without Rashawn Slater. But the running back room, I'm a huge fan of. I really am with Najee and Marion Hampton. Wide receiving position, you guys know how I feel about Ladd McConkey. If you listen to this channel over the last year, Ladd McConkey, I have him listed as being one of the best wide receivers in the game last season. Outside of him, there's still a bunch of question marks. Now, you did sign Mike Williams. Mike Williams realized the NFL is no longer for me. His body just couldn't hold up anymore, and that does suck. But let's also be honest here. Mike Williams in 2025, the back injury, the ACL injury, he was never going to be the same player. Even with the Steelers, even with the New York Jets, he didn't have those big-time plays how he once had before with the Los Angeles Chargers when he first got drafted by his organization. He still had a solid career for a player that dealt with so many injuries. So he retires. You bring in Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is still a solid route runner, still a very good player to have, but he is getting older and he's dealt with injuries over the last few years. The last time that we got to see him play for the Chargers, he had the best year of his career statistically. There's still something there with him and Justin Herbert. The chemistry is already there, but he's no longer the true number 1 wide receiver. He may not even be the number 2. As a number 3, that's fine. He may give you some big time games, but it's not going to happen every single year, every single game. And that comes with age. That's just what it is. You can now depend on him to be that consistent target outside of Quentin Johnson and the same with Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnson, it's time to step up. Year 1 was terrible. Brandon Staley was your head coach. Fully understand that. But the drops were a major issue. In year 2, drops were still a major issue, but he performed better. It's time to stop babying Quentin Johnson. You selected him in the first round from TCU. The talent is there. He can get open. He's a smooth route runner. He can get past defensive backs. He just has to focus and catch the football. And I'm rooting for Quentin Johnson. If he can play up to that first round level, you have him, you have Ladd McConkey, you have Keenan Allen. That's a solid wide receiving core. Not great. It's a solid wide receiving core. And you drafted Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, who had 60 catches, 1,030 receiving yards last year, 7 receiving touchdowns. This is the kicker. 17 yards a catch. He's your deep threat. You now slide him into the fold. And I know that Quentin Johnson went down with a concussion injury in the preseason. That sucks to see. And it wasn't a dirty hit by the defensive player. He just didn't see the defensive player coming and his head hit the turf. They had to stretcher him out. But he's scheduled to be okay. and he's scheduled to play week 1 against Kansas City. But Trey Harris can be that deep threat, working off of play action, taking the safeties with him, taking the hung corners with him. Keandre Lambert-Smith, he's had a lot of good moments in the preseason. Once again, it's a preseason, but you give him a full game with Justin Herbert. We've seen Justin Herbert go out there with DeAndre Carter and make him look like a big-time wide receiver. So it's possible. And that's the problem that the Chargers ran into with bad offensive line protection and when Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were both out for an extended period of time. He went out there with DeAndre Carter as his number 1, and he made do with them. So Justin Herbert can elevate the wide receivers to the next level. They just have to get open and catch the football. That's it. And that ties back into that argument of Justin Herbert being one of the best players in football for this upcoming year. And over the last few years, he has been the sole consistent player on this roster that hasn't dealt with major injuries and missed an entire season before. You can say Rashawn Slater, but he's going to miss all this upcoming year. And I still hold Rashawn Slater in high light. But Justin Herbert, he's been that franchise quarterback. The only thing is this: he needs to win a playoff game. And I know that's what a lot of Justin Herbert doubters are going to say. And I don't blame you. But when you have 3 head coaches in 5 years, 4 offensive coordinators in 5 years, what do you expect? And when your head coaches were Brandon Staley and Anthony Lynn, you're going to have some bad moments. But the talent is there. He's proven it to me. He just has to go out there in the playoffs and prove it again against elite level competition. But offensively, the offensive line is the biggest issue. Wide receivers, not as much as before. There's veteranship there with Keenan Allen, and there's better players that you targeted in the NFL draft to come in and fit this system and get the most out of the pieces around Justin Herbert. You still have Will Dissly at the tight end spot. This shocked the hell out of me. I for sure thought that the Los Angeles Chargers were going to go out there and draft the tight end, but they didn't. They really like Will Dissly. Will Dissly is more so of a blocking tight end. Last year, he had his career high in receiving yards. He's still not going to be this big-time tight end, be this big-time receiver at the tight end position. But as a blocker, he's one of the best. And I know why they love him. You can work with him, play action bootlegs, get the football to him in the red zone. But I still would have wished they would have drafted a receiving tight end that can go out there and really help out Justin Herbert in that part of his game. And it's not me saying that Will Dissly is a bad player. I just wish that they had a tight end that can go out there and find that wiggle. And part of another reason to why I'm shocked by this, Jim Harbaugh was a huge fan of Vernon Davis many decades ago. And the same with Greg Roman. So we'll see what happens at the tight end spot. Defensively, you're still set. You have one of the best defensive minds in Jesse Minter, was a phenomenal defensive coordinator at Michigan. Last year, they were dealing with so many injuries at the pass rushing spot, so many injuries on the back end of their defense, and they were still generating a lot of pressure because of Jesse Minter. He plays a lot of 3 safety, so expect for 3 safeties to be on the field for the majority of the time, and they run a high pass rush system. They may not have that one pass rusher like a TJ Watt, like a Max Crosby, or Myles Garrett. That's okay. He's going to go out there. He's going to find ways to generate that pressure over and over again. Their best pass rusher is Thule. Thule last year was playing very well, mixing in snaps with Joey Bosa, and the same with Bud Dupree. They're bringing back Bud Dupree, who had 6 sacks last year. You no longer have Joey Bosa. The writing was on the wall. Has dealt with so many injuries over the last 3 years, wasn't able to stay healthy, was able to take a pay cut, but it was time to move on. He's now with the Buffalo Bills. I wish him nothing but the best. But having Thule there and having Bud Dupree, that's a solid pass rush. And he selected Kyle Kennard with the 125th pick. He had 11 sacks and 3 forced fumbles his last year. He's going to be a rotational pass rusher. He's going to keep these players fresh. That's the one thing that Jesse Minter is known for doing. Keeping his defensive ends fresh and going out there over and over again and running a lot of 3 safety looks and making life hard for you on the back end of the defense. And it's a lot of combo coverage. He's just a very smart defensive coordinator, and he matches up well with pretty much anyone, including Kansas City. Far as them going out there and just stopping the run on a consistent basis, I'm not worried about it. You have very good linebackers there. Denzel Perryman. You have Henley. Junior Colson's entering year 2. I expect more out of him. Khalil Mack. I didn't even speak much about Khalil Mack. I know that many may say, well, Khalil Mack is still the best pass rusher on the team. It's Thule. Khalil Mack is still a very good, impactful pass rusher. 6 sacks last year, 2 forced fumbles. But he's an aging veteran. He's known for stealing the edge, stopping the run, and getting to the quarterback every now and then. But once again, it's a rotation of these pass rushers. But Cal Kennard, Thule, Khalil Mack, Bud Dupree, 4 very good pass rushers. The linebackers are set. The back end of your defense, you did lose Christian Fulton. Christian Fulton was more so of a system cornerback in my opinion. He just looked good because of the system that he was in with Jesse Minter. He was related as a bust with the Tennessee Titans. You now have a defensive back trio with Dante Jackson, Cam Hart, and Derwin James, who can be that linebacker for you, that split safety in certain situations, more so just an in-box safety. Those are very good defensive players to have in the back end of your defense, especially Dante Jackson. He's very fast. He can come away with interceptions. The only thing that you worry about him are those injuries. But we've seen undrafted free agents come in the back end of this defense and perform very well. Dating back to last year when they went against the Atlanta Falcons, they won that game, not because their offense went out there and scored a bunch of points. Kirk Cousins threw 4 interceptions. They won that matchup and their offense did not score a touchdown. That's what the Steelers have done over the last few years. They win football games based on their defense and special teams alone. And that's what the Chargers did last year. And I go back to that game against Kansas City, Sunday Night Football. If they were just a couple of plays away, if Patrick Mahomes not make you pick between him and Kelsey, and if you had a fully healthy team, I'm pretty sure the Chargers would have won that matchup. But shoulda, coulda, woulda is last year. Let's fast forward to this year. I think the Chargers will finish second in this division next to Kansas City. I still have Kansas City being the best team in this division. Then I have the Chargers just being a couple wins away. Then I have the Denver Broncos. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about the Los Angeles Chargers and how do you feel about the injury with Rashawn Slater? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.